The grand doors to the corporate boardroom swung open. A young black teen, barely 17, walked in with a confident stride. The room, filled with executives twice his age, went silent. He wasn't just any guest. He was there to take control. Everyone thought it was a mistake, his suit too sharp, his demeanor too calm. The billionaire who owned the company smirked, waiting for the punchline. What he didn't expect was that the teen was about to rewrite the rules of power and respect in front of everyone. But how could a teenager with no formal experience possibly shake the foundation of the business world? At first glance, it was easy to dismiss him. Marcus, the son of a working-class single mother, had spent his childhood in a rough neighborhood, but he wasn't there to sell his story. He had spent years learning the ins and outs of business, analyzing his heroes who had defied the odds. His mentors weren't billionaires, no, they were people like his mother, who fought for every inch. And though he never had a silver spoon in his mouth, his hunger for knowledge had given him a sharp edge that no Ivy League degree could match. Today, he walked into a room where every face was a picture of privilege, and every chair at the table belonged to someone who had been handed the world on a platter. The room was lined with polished wood, glass walls showing the skyline of the city, so far removed from his upbringing. As he stood there in his custom-tailored suit, the executives shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, waiting for him to speak. Behind him, the door shut with a finality that echoed through the room. He wasn't leaving until they all saw him as an equal. This was his moment to prove that no matter your background, you could take the reins of destiny and leave the world stunned by your strength. Marcus's presence was electric. The billionaire CEO, whose fortune had been built on decades of ruthless business dealings, glanced at him with a patronizing smirk. "You do realize this is a multi-billion-dollar company we're talking about, right?" he said, his voice dripping with disbelief. Marcus didn't flinch. He opened a sleek leather portfolio, revealing a series of documents that made the CEO pause. These weren't just any papers. They were detailed strategies for turning the company around. Marcus had spent weeks studying their weaknesses, analyzing their competition, and formulating a plan that could disrupt the market. The teen wasn't just talking about theory. He spoke with authority, backed by data that none of them had seen coming. As he walked them through his proposal, the room slowly shifted from skepticism to curiosity. Each word from his mouth carried the weight of years of preparation, proving that it wasn't about where you came from but what you knew. He began to highlight systemic problems that the company had ignored, mistakes they had overlooked because of their privilege. The executives, who thought they could dismiss him as a kid, now saw the depth of his knowledge and the precision of his vision. But the tension grew as the CEO, unable to let go of his pride, tried to challenge him. "What? Do you know about running a company? You've never even worked here," he spat, his face red with indignation. The boardroom fell silent again, the air thick with conflict. Marcus didn't back down. "I know what it takes to build something. I know what it's like to watch your world burn and rise from the ashes," he replied calmly. "You don't get to tell me what I can and can't do." The room erupted into a hushed tension. Every single person in that boardroom was forced to confront their own biases. The teen had done more than just present a proposal. He had questioned the very foundation of their privilege. The CEO, too proud to admit defeat, tried to push back once more, but Marcus was ready. With a deliberate motion, he slid a final document across the table. The CEO's eyes widened in recognition. The numbers weren't just impressive, they were revolutionary. They could quadruple profits in less than 2 years, change the company's entire trajectory. Marcus had just exposed their biggest flaw. They'd been operating under outdated thinking, blind to the world around them. "You don't have to like it," Marcus said, his voice cutting through the silence. "But the world is changing, and you can either adapt or be left behind." The billionaire's jaw clenched. The truth was undeniable. The executives, many of them too proud to admit their ignorance, had no choice but to recognize the brilliance before them. And in that moment, Marcus had done what few had dared to do. He had taken control, he had shocked them, and in doing so had proven that the boardroom wasn't just for the powerful, it was for those willing to challenge the status quo. The CEO, defeated yet begrudgingly impressed, stood up slowly. The room held its breath, waiting for his response. But Marcus knew this wasn't just about one victory. It was about something far greater. It was about opening doors for others like him, for anyone who had ever been told they didn't belong. "Welcome to the boardroom," the CEO said finally, his tone no longer condescending but acknowledging. The room erupted into quiet applause. It wasn't just a win for Marcus. It was a win for anyone who had ever been overlooked, underestimated, or judged by their background. As he walked out of the boardroom, Marcus felt the weight of the moment. He had proven that the fight for equality wasn't just about being seen. It was about taking your place at the table and demanding that others respect your presence. "You belong here," he whispered to himself as the door closed behind him, a powerful truth finally ringing in his ears. If Marcus's story moved you, if you believe in the power of breaking barriers and challenging the status quo, hit that subscribe button. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Let's keep the conversation going. Comment below with your thoughts on how we can change the way we view leadership.